Good Thursday morning. That's Tony Maritato. Nope, that's Tony Maritato. That's Dave Kittle. I'm always reversed. I'm Jimmy McKay, PT Breakfast Club. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Tony, how you doing? Dave, how you doing? Two of the worst feelings that a human being can have in modern society. This is first world problems. Woke up and realized that I had about 9 minutes to take the garbage out. And if I didn't, I was going to have garbage for a week. And while I was running down the driveway, I realized I left my windows open last night and it rained. So I'm going to have a soggy bottom this morning when I drive. Awesome. First world problems, but those are my problems this morning. Hopefully you have something less than that.
I want to talk about Dave's LinkedIn post and the traction that it's been getting.
Big.
Dave, you want to share some numbers?
Absolutely. I wanted to say thank you to both of you guys for, I think we did most of the episode on it. And I wanted to say thank you. And then let's cover all your topics today. But you're bringing this back up. So, all right. The last time I checked, it was over 19,000 impressions. I don't know. Maybe Tony knows, maybe Jimmy knows. It showed how many impressions that it reached. And then it also said like members. So what is a member? Like a user of LinkedIn. So does that mean like those members saw it twice? Yeah. So it's like 19. I'll pull it up as we're speaking. So this was from last night or yesterday. Over 19,000 impressions and 12,000 members reached. So I guess like a few people saw it twice. What do you guys think?
I don't know.
That's my interpretation, and I brought yours up because I was going to share mine, but my interpretation is, so the impression is, when was it on the screen?
Mm-hmm.
Members reached, to me, would be like a click-through rate. So 12,284 actually engaged with it, clicked on it, read it, something.
Love it. I'll take it.
That's my guess.
This is all I do now, so I don't bother asking humans because we're dumb. I just went and I literally, as we were doing this, uploaded that graphic and said, help me understand these two numbers. ChatGPT has helped me understand impressions, 19,000. That represents how many times your post was shown to people. Doesn't necessarily mean the post was interacted with or viewed, just that it was shown. It appeared on someone's screen, right? Members reached says the number of people, unique people or members, again, odd, but who actually saw the post. So it knows that they saw them. While impressions include multiple views of the same person, members reached refers to distinct individuals. So at worst, you're looking at 12K.
I love it. And for the audience of practice owners, again, it's an organic post, not linking out to anything, no image. Again, I got this from Tony Maritato's style of writing LinkedIn and Facebook posts. And I was like, I did this because Tony a while ago, like maybe, I can't remember, Tony, like 6 months ago, I don't know what time, you shared a bunch of your analytics for your LinkedIn post. And it was your style of, creative thoughts, and I'm putting this out there, whatever. And a lot of those posts of yours were getting like 2,000 to 5,000 impressions per post. And then I was looking at the ones where I'm sharing like my previous episodes and linking out to the YouTube videos and a graphic and all that. And they would get like 200 to 700 impressions, 200 to 700 impressions. So I was like, well, I mean, of course, Tony is clever and he puts in like thoughtful things in the post, but really like the base of the post is text, no image, no link out. So I was like, that's why I did that. And the reason why I'm bringing it back up is because owners out there, like, you all can model this same thing. Like, get these posts out there. If you want to attract therapists, get these posts out there on, I don't know, maybe your Facebook page. If you want to attract patients, like these are the foundational things that work right now.
And I think it brings up two ends of a spectrum. Although if it's a spectrum, it's just a circle, right? But it's a spectrum. It's a forever evolving problem, which is I see this trend. I want to jump on it. I want to be different, just like everybody else. How do I do that? And that takes some time and some thoughtfulness. So you have to know the physics. I use that phrase a lot when I work with people, and I'm not saying that I don't know it, but like these platforms have physics, and they change, unfortunately, a lot. So you want to say physics, tried and true. I know how gravity works. They change a lot. So one key thing I think you mentioned there that I want to hit on is you didn't link to anything. And a lot of times these physics, what these platforms will do, they won't tell you the rules of the game, and that's bad, but it's also good, because if someone's going to game the system, it's probably going to be with people with a lot of money, a lot of resources, and that ain't us. So you didn't link to anything, and that's been shown or guessed at, which is if you're posting on LinkedIn, LinkedIn's job is LinkedIn. So they want you to stay. So if you post to a YouTube video like we often do, right? Like we're broadcasting live there. LinkedIn's like, well, I'm going to maybe throttle that back a little bit because I don't want people to leave. If this is a good post and people take Dave's off ramp to now go to his website, I've lost them. And my job is LinkedIn. Now, the funny part is what I just said. We're streaming right now. If you're watching us on LinkedIn, I'd love to just let us know, hey, that's a platform we go to in the morning as you go to work. LinkedIn likes that because they're like, oh, look, here's someone taking something and using this as an on-ramp, and they're putting this content here. You're here to make this platform better. So there is a dance of physics, but one little logistical thing is you didn't link to anything. You were compelling. Now we can get into like writing style. We did that yesterday. Compelling. Physically, how are you doing this? You use a lot, and Tony uses a lot of white space. I know, it's a pain in the butt. I like push enter or put dots to make sure that thing doesn't, space differently. Yeah, that's why people read things. I mean, have we ever talked about like visual hierarchy? You guys ever looked at that thing? I'm sure you have. I'll find a graphic and I'll show it off. But I think the takeaway number one from your post, the two are design it for humans to read it, like make it easy to read, right? Number two, make sure you play within the rules of the platform, or they're just going to penalize you. And not even there's no yellow card on LinkedIn. They just don't show it to people. It just gets shown less. So make it great. That's number one. And number two, don't try to game the system because they're better at it than you. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, let me show you guys. So, and this is why I brought up Dave's, just to show you behind the scenes. I'll show you a couple different platforms, but this is my LinkedIn right now, like as of this morning. And you guys can see, over the last 7 days, 15,000 impressions. What bumped the impressions up for me recently, and we can talk about this today, is I intentionally said, I'm probably preaching to the choir because I knew everybody was going to be against this post. I know nobody's going to like this post. I was shocked when I had a couple people that actually did engage positively with this post. But to Dave's point, it's a whole lot of text. I'm surprised nobody's ever said this. I try to intentionally, characteristically put those 3 dots to break up my paragraphs. And I started that years ago on Facebook because when I would type in Facebook would compress everything together. And I wanted to break it up visually so it's a little more, pleasing to the eye. And I just kept it because I was like, well, shoot, now I do it with every post. So I just throw it, even though LinkedIn doesn't require it. I still put it in there. Nobody's ever said anything. Jimmy was the first one this morning who said something about dots. This one does have, pictures of the graphs for the stocks. But this was a great post for me, getting lots of engagement. The other thing that works really well for me on LinkedIn is posts either that I reshare or that other companies are going to reshare, and so if I just do a quick go back 365 days, every time you see a big spike, like this was the one about OTs and,
the driver.
Yeah, the driving and seeing the future. This was one I think Luna Physical Therapy helped and shared with when I was doing a presentation for them. This little spike here, kind of the same thing. So like yesterday, Larry had a great post about, hiring and short staffed and all that stuff. So I reposted his, I added context to it, but those kinds of things, when you guys share it, that also helps increase the reach.
Here's more physics, what I noticed. And this maybe is in the last month or two. Tony, if you put up a post and you're like, hey, celebrating, like nothing amazing, right? Even though all you do is amazing. Celebrating the wins, had a great day, you share some insight, and I comment on it. I will now get a notification when Dave comments on it. I will now get a notification when someone else that I don't know comments on it. And that hasn't been there always, right? It wasn't like that. What you're seeing now is LinkedIn is trying to say, you previously engaged with this. Maybe someone is saying something that is now added to the conversation. I need to bring it to the top. So you're seeing more dopamine hits in the top right-hand corner on LinkedIn. This is just like anecdotal because I have to know what that red circle means. What's the notification? Is it for me? Right? Did I do something? Am I getting a little back rub, little back scratch? Oh no, it's actually someone else saying something for Tony's post that you also were side comment on. So when you start to create things that are, and I know this is going to blow people's minds, media that is social, that's when you see things start to really, really take off. So I tell people, we had a comment before, or a post before, where we said, if your posts start to talk about we, start to change that about you, or how about us, like you brought up one earlier where you're saying, like, I know people are going to disagree with me. Hang on a second. I want to see where I fit in this equation. Maybe I agree with you. Maybe I disagree with you, because people love to give their opinions. They love it.
I see Scott's here right now. So I see Scott liking things, and I get notifications from Scott commented on this. What were you going to say, Dave?
Well, I was just going to say, like, the thing with Jimmy where LinkedIn is giving the notifications to him to come back to the party, right? So he was at the party, he commented on Tony's post, and then he goes and works and does other things. And then LinkedIn sends him a notification like, hey, Dave Kittle, or, Joe Johnson, or whoever commented on the post that you commented on. And then, so again, that's confirmation that LinkedIn is trying to get you back on the platform, which kind of coincides with what we're talking about at the top of the show of, like, it's going to throttle down your posts when you're linking out. When I'm linking out to my podcast, YouTube videos, Apple iTunes, podcast, Spotify links, whatever, any of those links, it's going to throttle it down. So again, you just have to, if you want to play the game, like we're all playing the game, we want, we want to help more patients. We want to, at least for me, we want to, grow our team. We want to, help more patients, grow our team, get our thoughts and ideas and messages out there in the world. And if you want to do that, you kind of have to play by the rules of these platforms. You kind of have to know the rules. And, over the past year or two, like, I've done a ton of scheduled posts on LinkedIn where I'm linking to previous episodes and graphics and all of that. And again, yeah, it's significantly less impressions and less reach. And then for whatever reason, Saturday, I write that post and it, mini blows up over a couple of days and gets thousands and thousands of impressions and views, and then tons of likes and comments. And then obviously, you know how it is, Tony, like the more people like something and engage with it or comment on it, then it's like the snowball effect. So my thing is, I don't know if you saw this, but yesterday, I think Tuesday after our show, I posted on Facebook and LinkedIn a video of me. It's like 3 minutes long, a video of me reading that post out loud.
Yeah.
And magically, go ahead.
Keep going. I like this.
Magically, and this is all testing. We're testing and working in public. I read the post out loud. Of course, I interject a little myself, whatever, so that it's like 3 minutes long instead of a minute and a half or whatever. I post the video of me reading the I believe every staff physical therapist should be able to. I post it on Facebook and LinkedIn. Magically, it doesn't get as many likes, engagement, comments, all of that. I get some, but not as much as the original post. So again, right now, we're still triangulating around the text post, the Tony Maritato text post, no image, no link out. Does video, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But I wanted to read the post in video form, because then if another therapist that doesn't know me at all, I believe that, that's why I do my YouTube channel. You can see me, you can hear me, you know if I'm BS or if I'm real or whatever, if I'm legit, you can tease that out right away. And I wanted to kind of connect the video component with the text component of this post, but I don't think anything's going to outperform the original text post.
Well, keep in mind, now I'll go back to my traditional media background, and that's actually goes into, I love used bookstores. I don't know, because like you get like a great book that I read 20 years ago and I can read it again, like Meatball Sunday. I'm gonna read this on the flight. We'll talk about where I'm going. When I used to do the news in radio, Brian Hughes was our news director, would write it. He would get information from the AP wire and write it. Now, the same reporters down the street at the TV station would also write it to read on the TV. And the same reporters would get the information and write a news story about it. If I read the newspaper on the radio, it doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You write for broadcast, you write for TV, you write for radio. They're slightly different, but writing for newspaper, drastically different. Now, remember, as sophisticated as we still are using newspaper, radio, TV. Right now we're on TV. but later on I'm going to take this audio from TV and YouTube and bring it over to the new version of radio. So they're similar, but they're different. And this is where I say, like, the people who are good at this or understand, but doesn't mean you have to do all of them. Like, I don't want people to be like, well, now I got to read my posts and blah, blah. You don't have to, but a slight difference in writing can make a difference. Also, you could repost the same video a week from now and it could blow up. Like, you never, or you could write the same post in a week and get a dud. But right now you got that dopamine hit.
Let me show you guys real quick. I think Pinterest is by far the most underrated, underutilized platform.
Yeah, I gotta understand this because I don't understand the platform for outside of, like, I don't know.
Me either. Me either. So here we go. Let's learn something.
All right. I am not a Pinterest expert at all, but it's a visual platform, obviously, photos and videos, obviously. It's not a place for text. But the thing that I love about Pinterest, and I think what everybody will tell you is, this is the platform that doesn't penalize you for sending traffic off Pinterest. Like, everybody else will penalize you for putting people off.
That's my kind of platform.
There's the different physics.
Right. And so you can see I'm doing all videos right now. In the beginning, I was doing all images. Now, I don't take it as seriously as I should, but if you go into the analytics real quick, and there are some massive channels in our space in PT and OT, and let me see here.
No, go back. That's your ad account. Go back. I saw where you were trying to go, I think.
Yeah.
Go back.
See, like, I don't even use it in here.
Analyze performance. There you go.
All right. The last 30 days. So if I scroll down, the biggest thing here is, if you look at outbound clicks, 1,000, 1.16 thousand outbound clicks from my content out to my other content in the last 30 days. And that's fine. Like, that's what they're here to do. So this could be clicks that go out to my YouTube videos. This could be clicks that go to my website for my blog articles, anything that I relate to the image or the video that I upload to Pinterest. I can take those clicks outside of here. And really, when you look at that and you say, okay, I'm getting 36,000 impressions, I'm getting 1,000 clicks. There are channels on here with 2 and 3 million monthly impressions, and these are PTs and OTs. I mean, exponentially bump up the number of clicks. Think of how much traffic is coming out to their other content. It is incredible. I think it would blow you, Google, out of the water when it comes to SEO and organic reach.
I mean, the thing I think people need to remember, or I have to often remind myself, is this is like changing where your store is located. This is like changing your address. And now when you go to a new town like Pinterest and you do something, you understand there's a lot of people there. You instantly move into a city. If you're not there, you don't have an address. If you are there, you have an address, but the more you share, or the more and better, the better and more you share, the more people you walk by. And then just think of it as how many people are going to walk by your store, impressions, walk in your store, give it a click, and then commit, either buy something or subscribe. Like, that is know, like, trust. I know who you are. I've blown by. Yeah, I haven't gone in. Going in, actually consuming, like clicking and coming in, and then I want to come back. I want to make sure we don't lose a connection, whatever that might be. And then there's a sale, and then there's a, then there's the transaction.
Yeah. While you're talking, I was looking for
let me go back to this while you're looking for that. This is visual hierarchy, right? So, like, this is also like why we use white space, but it's also like when you use a graphic and you use text. Let me see if this is true.
I don't see anything yet.
I'm going to flash it on the screen. I'm going to flash it on the screen. Just tell me if at the end it's true. That's it. So just read.
Yep. Yes, true. So a combination of font size, font thickness, or
Bold
right, versus normal. Typically, I guess the size mostly. Maybe the colors, but
that's what she said.
Tony going bold, dropping two Office references, 2 episodes in a row. But what I'm trying to show there is like there's a physics to like the human brain too. I should get Mike Morrison back on here. Mike was a full stack web developer and then went back to get his PhD in, I'm going to say, organizational psychology. Don't be mad at me, Mike. But what that means is he knows how to design something like a website, understands the physics of websites, and understands the physics of the brain. So he understands the thing he's putting in front of the brain and how the brain works. And he's able to say, this is how you design better, because the goal isn't to get you to believe me or do something. The goal is to get you to understand. So he knows how to use weapons like visual hierarchy. But that goes back into your posts, which is we can't change font size in maybe a LinkedIn post. Okay, cool. That physics, everything's even, but you can use white space and you can space it out. And you can vary the length and size of your paragraphs. Things like that trick the brain, or they scratch the itch on the brain to say, read this, not that. Read this for 10 seconds. Only read this for 5 because it hurts too much.
And I think these are copywriting elements, whether we're talking visual, you know, the old copywriting, direct response, you see the yellow highlight across.
Those are
that's going to draw your attention to it. Dave, we're all fans of copywriting, and you go back and look at the great sales letters, and I think you could learn so much. The last thing that I wanted to share here, I found it. So this is Google Analytics, last 28 days, 4 weeks. This is from the Choose PT First website. So you can see we had about 8,000 sessions. Now, my traffic got crushed like a year and a half ago. I would have been at 20, 30,000 sessions in 28 days. It came way down, but it's been, oh, did I lose my camera?
We see your screen share.
Okay. It's been hovering. Yeah. It's been hovering here for a while now. And what I wanted to show you was this section. So it used to be Google. Right now, Google is 1.8 thousand sessions. Google used to bring me like 10,000 sessions. Bing would bring me like 600 sessions. Now that's flip-flopped. So Bing is bringing me more than Google. Yahoo is close. Pinterest, you can see down here, you know, you saw on the last screen, it was 1,000 something outbound clicks. About 767 of those went to this website. The rest of them either went to my Total Therapy website or my YouTube videos. DuckDuckGo is picking up. So I'm getting like 600 clicks from DuckDuckGo. And then to the right of that, you can see like the dry needling pros and cons is still my main article. How to find your Medicare number after knee replacement, 2 critical exercises. These are all SEO keywords chosen straight from Google keyword research tool. Articles written about that continue to bring traffic. But these are things that any therapist right now could be doing. And, you know, I was listening to them talk about, hang on a sec. There we go. Fast versus slow. What are you guys cracking up about?
The bottom, Jimmy's got a scrolling breaking news. Jimmy just realized Bing is still a thing. And then also David commented live, what is Bing? So David, you might be showing your age if you don't know what Bing is. Bing is the search engine from Microsoft, correct?
I know. I knew what it was, but I was like, is that a thing? Like, if you say Bing,
Bing still accounts for billions and billions of dollars in profit for Microsoft.
I don't doubt it.
Yeah.
It's just not one of my first go-tos, right?
You got to remember, everybody like of a certain age buys a computer, comes home, they don't change. They're still using Edge. They're still using Bing because that's the default on the computer.
Yeah, it's wild. Well, this brings up a conversation. It might be an entire episode, which is at what point do we stop Googling something and we ask ChatGPT, or we ask AI for the answer, right? Because I remember when you know, maybe a year ago, a little less, I was reached out to by a PT at a pretty big organization, and he goes, "Hey man, how do I make sure that like when someone asks a question, AI suggests my practice as the answer, or PT in general as the answer for this question?" And I said, it just needs to be the truth. Like that's the idea, or like that AI's version of the truth, right? If you want to get into large language models. So it's going to be the default search engine, which is in the search engine. So does SEO like completely go away, or does it fade into oblivion at that point?
Well, let's talk about it for a minute. How are you guys using, I'm going to say different tools differently. You know, this morning, my son's doing a homework assignment and it was asking about kinetic and potential energy. And like, I kind of remember it, but my wife, he had the sheet, he had the questions, it showed a chart and it was like, which one has more potential energy? My first response is to snap a picture of the sheet, the ditto, if you guys remember that.
Ditto.
Snap a picture, put it into ChatGPT 4.0 and say, answer these questions for me. My wife's first response was to go to GroupMe and ask her brothers and sisters who are, you know, science-based like professions, answer these questions for me. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, I might have gone into Google and said, what's the difference between kinetic and potential energy? How are you guys using these tools differently?
I'm going to AI right now. I mean,
But you're not going to AI to be like, is Office Depot open or what are the hours?
No. I go to Maps for that. If I'm like, is this closing? How do I get there? It's Maps. I actually don't even Google things like that. For me, it's Maps. They have the hours, but that's also an extension. You know, if I go to Google Maps, it's an extension of Google. No,
there's a difference between I want information. You're going to go to Google. I want to find out what are the reviews of this place. What's the directions? Are they open on this holiday or not? I want to find out like what's their menu, things like that. Now more and more using ChatGPT as like shortcuts, right? So like we had a family that we've had as a client for years, and they wanted some letter, kind of like a progress report. But like I took the therapist progress report and I put it in a ChatGPT and to make it even better, because the family wants to show some either plateau or regression of the patient's condition so that they qualify for more like CNA, home health aid type of help through the insurance company or whatever insurance company. So I actually use ChatGPT for that. I'm using ChatGPT when I'm looking for like a solution, when I'm looking for shortcuts, when I'm looking for some information that I can't recall or I don't know, but I'm looking for an output. I'm looking for like a deliverable, as opposed to like I'm going to use Google to like, what about I need information for this thing XYZ.
I just text Jimmy.
Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, because I can't do it because my GPT has been trained on it already.
All right, so read it to me. What? Who are?
I would just say, who are the physical therapists in Middletown, Ohio? You know, I don't even know what the question to ask is, but let's go with that question.
Got it.
I know when people are searching Bing, whatever they're using, their AI will come up with references to my Choose PT First articles at times.
Well, I got good news, Tony. You're on the podium. I need Jimmy use this map quest. Thanks, bro.
Dr. Mike Pasco, shout out.
So Tony, you're in the top 3. Brad Williams Sturgis, Total Therapy Solutions, and Athletico.
Okay.
I think the thing is like, how does it get this information, right? And we're like, well, it's a large language model. I'm like, yes. I don't understand that, but I understand those words. So how are you getting this, right? Is it going out and searching right now? Is it piggybacking on already known platforms that utilize SEO? It must at this point. There's no way that someone has uploaded all physical therapists in Middletown, Ohio as an option.
No, it's read the internet. Like it's got access to the internet up to a specific date. I think in 2024 now. I don't remember what the exact date is. And then of course there are GPTs that can browse the internet in real time, but it is trained on the entire internet.
Complete sidebar. Is this Brad Williams Sturgis? Is that the PT that previously left you, or he's totally independent?
No. So when we first came to the town, there were a group of 3 PTs that were co-owners of a practice, of a business. He was one of the 3. They has sold to Athletico way back a long time ago, but then he went into private practice for himself. So he's a local PT that's, you know, still working here.
Gotcha.
Burn, Tony. I then asked which one was the best if I've had a knee replacement. I went right down the middle, and you came in second. Another solid.
No way.
See,
you can't rely on everything. You can't rely on everything ChatGPT says.
Highly personalized care. Tony's experience in treating a variety of orthopedic conditions, including joint replacements.
So I do think
paid placement on ChatGPT from Athletico.
I do think we need to, SEO continues to evolve. I think it was Mike who said this as well. Just like, we have got so much history of SEO optimization for Google specifically. I think we also need to start learning SEO strategies for these AI models. How do I get in the AI model? How do I, show up as an expert? I would imagine part of that is going to be a multi-front approach. We're on Google, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn and Facebook and all of these places. We establish our, I link everything to my state license. I link everything to my Medicare listing on the Medicare directory. I have multiple verifications to confirm, if nothing else, I am a licensed physical therapist here in Middletown, Ohio. I am going to leverage that licensure for any value I can squeeze out of it.
Sure.
And this would be one. These are third-party verification sources that a large language model or Google or anybody can verify, okay, at least this name is associated with this license number.
Yeah. When in doubt, going back to Tony's, like, how do you use it? How will we use it in the future? Here is something I've known to be true. 2 TV shows have always gotten it right. When you want to know what's going to happen in the future in terms of big events, watch The Simpsons. I don't know how, but they have everything on lock, right? Number 2, in terms of science, technology, and how we use stuff, this is exactly how you're going to interact with your computer in a couple of years. And if you're not watching a live stream, I have Star Trek. This is showing my dorkiness. Do I use MapQuest? Not really, but I do quote Star Trek: The Next Generation, and it's Data, right? Data is just, he's walking ChatGPT large language model personified, right? I mean, I'm just waiting to be beamed somewhere. That's the only thing we haven't done yet.
So another great question from Mike is, what models are you using? Like, I've researched Notebook LM. I've watched the podcast. I watched a video yesterday talking about like 10 use cases for Notebook LM in your business. I have not used it. I'm primarily in the world of OpenAI's ChatGPT 4.0. I do a little bit with Gemini and I do a little bit with Bard. And if one thing doesn't work on one platform, I try to go to another and see if I can get it to work. But what about you guys?
Yeah, so Sturdy McKee sent me something that he created on Notebook LM. It was a podcast episode of, it sounded like 2 real hosts. It was a man and a woman, 2 voices, talking about a blog post that Sturdy uploaded into whatever, a Notebook LM. I haven't even tried it yet. These 2 fake voices, these 2 individuals were talking, they're like talking about Sturdy McKee, like as if it was like a news clip. And they're like, he brought up this and he brought up this. And then, he states this and that makes sense, or this, that. And they're talking about a blog post that Sturdy uploaded about, physical therapy practice ownership or whatever. I was extremely blown away. It sounded like 2 real, organic, authentic humans talking. However, I said to Sturdy, this is great and all. You could upload it as a podcast episode onto iTunes or Spotify or whatever. But it's not going to recreate this, folks. It's not going to recreate this because you can't get those fake voices on video right now, as far as I know. And until we can, but it's going to look choppy. It's going to look robotic. I've seen the different tools out there because
in October 2024 it will.
If we can replace ourselves, and I'll just sleep in, I don't have to show up here anymore. I could just have Dave Kittle, bot come in and he'll talk about whatever. I don't know what he'll talk about.
No. So yes, the video right now will be weird. We'll have 6 fingers and everything in October 2024. In October 2025, it would hurt your head to just wake up in October 2025. I think like we are moving.
I don't think so. It's not gonna recreate us doing this thing. I don't think so.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think it'll recreate, but I think whatever it is, wherever the puck goes, it's going to be like, it would be difficult to jump to that, to use the Steven Johnson quote, the adjacent possible. Like everything makes sense because of the steps you took to get there. That's why like somebody waking up from a coma movies are always so crazy. It's like, well, yeah, this is, remember Demolition Man? He was like, this is the three seashells and how we wipe our butts. That was like, what is the three seashells? What are you talking about? It's odd. But like the version in 2024 right now that we do digitally recreate ourselves is Dave and I talk with Tony for an hour, and then we go away and people watch it for days and weeks and months later. But you're talking about the origin of that. I don't know.
So if you guys haven't checked out Hey Jen, one word, Hey Jen, go check it out. It's incredible. That's kind of the leader right now, as far as I know, in the space of taking audio or text, turning it into video. You can upload your own video. So you take a video clip of yourself. I don't know how many minutes it needs to be, and then it will model you. It is phenomenal. It is incredible. Now, to Dave's point, yes, it is. You still can just barely tell that it's not quite there. But man, things are going so fast. The end of 2025, there is no chance you're not going to be able to tell the difference. Inflection, tone of voice, jokes, like skin tone, not shaving, all of that stuff is going to be there. So now the question is, well, how do we use this to, take the profession forward? Like, can I create an avatar? We already know, proven scientifically, objective measures, like AI is more empathetic to patients than human healthcare providers, no doubt. So it's like, can I create an army of AI agents that are built on me, use my content, use my terminology, use my personality, but have an infinite level of empathy? Because I don't have an infinite level of empathy. My empathy meter is running really low a lot of these days. And so I think we can, and I think it can answer questions the same way we would answer questions. It could reference millions and millions of cases of patients that I've never seen, but like it is just going to be incredible in what it can do. What are you guys thinking?
I really, if it can replace humans and us, then I get to go do what Tony used to do at this time, which is go run and jog, and then I don't have to show up. Then I can have a virtual person speak to the most challenging, picky New Yorkers when they're looking to find an in-home physical therapy practice. I don't know if we're ever going to get there. I know that the tools look promising. It's easy to make predictions. Years ago, Gary Vee said, Alexa is the thing. People are no longer going to be Googling anymore. People are going to say, Alexa, what's the best physical therapy? What's the best physical therapy place in my town? Guess what happened? Gary Vee has been right about a lot of things. He's been dead wrong about Alexa, because guess what we use Alexa for?
He didn't say when, though.
What's the weather? Set this timer or an alarm because we have, to cook pizza, or to, a timer for our laundry. We literally use Alexa like at the most basic level. It never solved anything with voice search.
I would say I agree with Jimmy. It's a when question. It hasn't gotten there yet. You and I, Dave, we remember Rob Vining. Like, he was 10 years ahead of the curve on telehealth. Telehealth still isn't where it needs to be, but like, he was just way ahead of his time. Now the technology has caught up. Now we can see hugely successful practices building what Rob had seen in the future a decade ago. Talking about biases in AI. Yeah, but there are biases in us. Like, we have tons of bias. I think you could probably manage it better in AI than you could in the human.
Right. In terms of predictions, there was a Hulk movie in the 70s. There was a Thor movie in the 70s, and they were garbage. I mean, it was literally Lou Ferrigno painted green. And as soon as the technology caught up with the human story, the human thing, the human need, that's when stuff got wild. Like, that's when stuff. So here's the thing. Right now, voice is solving the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Like, functional. It says physiological needs there, but it's functional. Set this timer, maybe you can do like, what time does this thing close, but it's still not good. I even try to find my podcast, which I know is on there, to see if people can ask for it. And I can't. It's clunky. It's going to speed up. It's gonna.
Are you guys
it's gonna get
familiar?
somewhere.
Are you guys familiar with Fermi's paradox?
Is that a thing where computer power doubles every 6 months?
No, that's
That's Moore's law, I think.
yeah, Moore's law.
Moore's
Fermi's paradox is basically, look, if the universe is virtually infinite, if there's billions and billions of stars just like ours and planets just like ours, and where are all the aliens? Where are other life forms?
Right.
And so one of the concepts that I've heard circulating, which I think is really interesting, is maybe as we advance, we don't go out. Like, we all expect that we're going to go out. Elon wants to take us to Mars. Like, we think we're going to populate the universe. But maybe what happens is we end up going in. It's like, well, wait a minute. If I could create the perfect, companion that's infinitely empathizing with me and understands how to give me just enough dopamine when I need compassion, they give it. When I need, frustration, they give it. When I need joy, they give it. And I've got virtual reality that's indistinguishable from real life. And I've got all of these things. Maybe I just turn into that person with the headset that never leaves the house, because every possible joy and pleasure is within rather than without. It's scary. I'm not saying that's what I want.
It's core,
but it's possible.
Ready Player One, right? That's
right.
That's the
Right.
idea.
Exactly.
Like, where's that online universe? If we're going in, coming this winter, starring Meg Ryan, and who is that? Did you ever remember Spielberg's Inner Space? They shrunk him and then he injected him into somebody. But we're going inside. We're not going to Mars. We're actually going to go inside each other.
We're going in the earth. We're going into bunkers. The billionaires out there are buying underground towns. We are going inside the earth.
Yeah.
What did Mike say here? Hard to remember.
I don't know what verb.
Okay, it's Fermi's, Fermi ''S. Fermi's paradox. Hey, let's switch gears. Let's talk about United Healthcare.
Hey.
So I shared a post and I'm super pumped. Oh, Corey's here. I'm super pumped because I get to talk to Dana Strauss. I'm actually interviewing her later today. Oh. She blew my mind. She was one of those people. I saw her on the Strata PT podcast for the first time. Never heard of her, never knew anything about her. She's the first person, and talk about biases, that like hit all of my biases. She was like, look, we want to be primary care providers for musculoskeletal. We're not even recognized as providers by Medicare. Like, we're not even part of the conversation. We don't have a seat at the table. Nobody even thinks of us as anything when you get to the conversations behind closed doors. So she had the most realistic, logical, practical approach to saying, if PTs want to step into that world, we need to first become part of the team. Yesterday, and I'll share this probably this weekend, I interviewed somebody who is 100% cash based. He is part of a kind of, I don't know if I'd say a conglomerate or holistic, group of physicians and providers. And he's a physical therapist, and everything he does is like, I think the quintessential, this is where the profession wants to go, because he is a peer. He's a professional sitting next to the orthopedic and the oncologist and the primary care doc, and they're brainstorming around one person. UHC. So back to UHC. I don't know why we take this as a personal attack. Like, if somebody doesn't want to pay your rate, who cares? Go to the next person. If UHC says, I'm only going to pay this much, that's fine. You make the decision. I can do it or I can't. And if I shared an article yesterday about milk being in the back corner of, the store because it's a loss leader. If UHC is going to bring me people in, and I'm not going to offer them 100 other options between the front door and getting the milk in the back corner of the store, it's my fault. I'm the one to blame. If I signed the contract and I'm not going to monetize that person in any other way, I'm not going to allow them to get access to anything that's valuable that they're willing to pay for, I made the mistake. Why would I blame UHC for my mistake? What are you guys thinking?
I love this. every practice needs to be doing this or considering this. I think, Tony, the challenge is like a lot of practice owners, if they've been around, if they've been ownership for 10, 15, 20 plus years, they started with contracts that before, change in cost of living and some inflation over all these, years or 1 or 2 decades or whatever. They didn't have to do those things before. They, maybe the dollar amount was like 200 or, 250, worth of value then compared to now, right? So now that their UHC and others are squeezing and decreasing reimbursement, those same owners are still in practice. A lot of them. We're looking at a couple of different deals right now, and the margins are just so tight. It's very risky. One, I'm not going to say, obviously, I can't say who and where, but like we're looking at a practice, and it's literally zero cash pay, literally zero cash out of pocket. A really big chunk of managed care contracts, like a pretty sizable percentage of the pie is the managed care contracts, and the practice owner, admittedly, is not doing anything out of pocket. So I think for anyone watching or listening now or in the future of this episode, I mean, it's pretty easy. You go on Instagram, you can see what other practices are doing. The Normatec compression boots, different modalities, red light therapy, shockwave, maybe the stim pod that we use. I think I agree, Tony. You have the UHC contract. It is what it is. It is what it is. And like you said, I love the analogy of grocery stores. They break even on the milk because they have a ton of other things that you're going to get distracted with. You're going to, these chips, and I got this football game coming up, or the Super Bowl, or, this and that, or I have family coming over. Let me get some of these cheeses. Let me get some bread or whatever, like these other things. And, this coconut water, and the margins on like coconut water or other items like that are gigantic. So then the grocery store kind of tricks you. They put the milk in the back. You're right. They could just have the milk in the front. So how else, Tony and Jimmy, can practice owners use this? They, I guess, have an easier sales cycle on the front end. Yes. Yeah. We take your United Healthcare, your cost per visit is whatever, and come on in and let's schedule your date and time for your evaluation. Great. We'll see you then. We'll send reminders.
All right.
And then you come.
I think Dave brings up a point. Is we talk about theory, I want to talk to people with practice, right? So I need to bring in someone I've referenced soon, and probably because she's a close friend is why I haven't had her on the podcast, because it also I feel easier interviewing people I don't know than I do like friends, right? So I've talked about her before. Her name is Megan Brown, and she is the biggest exact. She's just not even talking about doing this. She's just been doing it, and she's like, I don't care if you follow me. I'm just going to go be successful. She's a physical therapist, but she doesn't practice physical therapy, using air quotes. She runs a Pilates studio in one of the most expensive zip codes in the country, and she runs a crazy successful business, and she does exactly this. So I need to bring her on because I think people need to hear, like, even if they're nodding along, I want them to be able to apply these things. I want them to be like, oh, that's my version of. I don't think that you could, because she runs a Pilates studio that builds community. And while you're there, she's like, by the way, now I have eyes on 40 people a session. If that person needs PT, she's like, I either refer out, or if I decide I want to treat that person, I treat that person. Like, she's an extreme example, but you could take elements from what Megan and other. So here's the ask. If you're doing this, I want to interview you. Megan's the first example. She's a Pilates studio. Nowhere on her website or on her sign does it say physical therapy, but trust me, she is practicing community-based physical therapy. She's the biggest Trojan horse that I know in terms of practice. I want to know the others because I want to show them to you, because these are all things you can do today. These are things you should be doing tomorrow. But I don't want to talk about theory. I want to talk about practice. We talk about practice? Practice?
Well, in terms of actual tactical things, like I want to hear from practice owners who are taking all of the in-network contracts, because it sounds like she probably doesn't. She probably doesn't, right? Does she have in-network contracts?
But that's what I mean. Let's not just show them. Let's show all of them. Let's do dirty jobs, right? I'll be Mike Rowe. This week we're in Middletown, Ohio. We'll do dirty jobs, but of these innovative practice, because we are not in competition. We are, but we're really not. Like, you're not. The PT across the street is not your competition. The one 5 states away is not your competition. Can we learn from each other? We have to, or AI will take over. That's when AI can take over, when you're so repeatable and predictable that you could be copy pasted.
So Tony, do you know anyone that's taking like the in-network contracts, like the UHC and all that? Where specifically, like, I think Greg Todd down in Tampa area is doing this, where like he's had 2 or 3 locations for years with a partner, and they've always been in network. And then they upsell people on either modalities, I think maybe, but they definitely upsell them on like a digital, I forget what it was called. It was like some digital HEP workout program that was like a monthly recurring membership once they discharge. Have you spoken with any practice owners that are actually doing this? Like they're in network with all these contracts, and then they try to segue people into cash pay options or maintenance or workout plans or whatever.
I mean, it depends on where or how big you want to talk. Like that's what we do. We have our continuity program, $100 a month. We can funnel people in through that. We used to do a lot more personal training. We used to do a lot more self-pay massage that would be layered on top of covered services. Justin Stiver down in Florida, I know they do a lot of cash-based stuff. Still, it kind of varies. Like it's not enough cash pay to move the needle when you look at the overall insurance reimbursement. But I know there are people watching this who are moving in that direction. We're moving in that direction more now, and Jimmy and I just had a conversation the other day where it's like the greatest gift we've got right now in therapy is declining reimbursement, because we've been so comfortable. As things are coming down, we're still making enough money. We can squeak by at some point. And I think we're hitting that tipping point. Backs against the wall. We can't do that. We can't do this anymore. And so now our back's against the wall and we're the best at coming up with solutions. That's why you see all the content I'm putting out. That's why you see me experimenting with different equipment and different things that are going to be 100% cash pay, because it's make it or break it. I need to do something or else I'm just going to shut it down and go do something 100 times more profitable. But then I lose my connection to the profession, So yeah, if anybody's watching, if you're doing this, 2 ways that I look at UHC, really it's 3 ways real quick. One is the gallon of milk in the back corner. It's a loss leader, right? 2 is if I take my car to the mechanic, I pay a diagnostic fee. That fee might be $80. And then they're going to tell me what needs to be done on the car. And then I have the decision to decide, yes, I want to do that, or no, I don't. A low reimbursing contract like this could be that, diagnostic where, all right, I'm not going to make a ton of money. I'll make enough money. I'll tell the patient what I believe they need, which includes non-covered services. So my cart value goes up. And number 3, back to one more time. In some states, like here in Ohio, UHC pays a day rate. If I do 1 unit or 4 units, I'm getting paid the same amount. If I ethically believe this patient would benefit from a single unit session, there's no reason why I can't do it. And the single unit session on a day rate with UHC is double what Medicare is paying for a single unit session. So it's like, I can totally have these individuals in my clinic 5 days in a row, Monday through Friday, single unit sessions. I believe they get better outcomes. I believe they get better care. I'm making double the profit. It just makes total sense. But if a therapist is not willing to look at all of the resources available, it's their responsibility. They are the business owner. They're at fault, not the insurance company that's saying, hey, this is what we're going to pay. Yeah. Do you want it or not?
Also, this is in your control, and insurance companies and to an extension, advocacy in Washington, it's sort of out of your control. Like, I'm glad people advocate. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying don't be a member of organizations or give to political action committees. I'm not saying do that. That's the future, right? What can you do today? And I love this quote in the comments right now. It's like, oh my gosh, are you actually treating your PT practice like a business? So like, this is going to be an emotional stopper for a lot of people. They're going to say like, oh my gosh, but you're offering someone a session for 30 minutes on Normatec boots. I'm not saying sell anything that those Normatec boots aren't. I know people at Hyperice, they don't want you to sell anything that the Normatec boots aren't. Explain what it is, and then let them decide. And can you provide that? Aren't you a provider? So we're not saying sell snake oil. It's not where we're going to go, and we're never going to go there, I don't think, as much as I know about you guys. But if you're offering people milk, do you also offer them, tortillas and ice cream and those things? That's how they keep themselves in business. And that's what you are.
I think the interesting, and we can do parting shots in a second. I think the interesting about Scott's comment here, treating PT like a business. I've been in the rooms. You guys have been in the rooms just as much. The door closes. The conversation historically has been, okay, how do we make sure we get every insurance dollar available? How do we make sure we maximize reimbursement? I don't care what the patient needs. I don't care what the condition is. If they're referred for 18 visits, they better do 18 visits. Every patient better do 4 to 6 units per visit. Like, I don't ever want to be in those conversations. I was in those conversations early in my career, but I did everything in my power to get away from those conversations. I think we can run it like a business in a way that makes us feel good, clean, comfortable. And when I say that in my world, it usually means, okay, let's understand the insurance contract and what is covered, but let's not take away the right to choose from the patient. Let's let the patient make the decisions. And let's not be so dependent on that insurance dollar and maximizing the insurance dollar and vilifying the insurance company. It's just one tiny segment.
Understand the rules of the game you're playing or sit on the bench. That's what Scott was saying in the comments. Agreed.
And you actually have to be, in my opinion, I don't know, you guys can challenge me in the comments. You can challenge me. You actually have to maybe be different or better if you're charging more out of pocket. I believe that a lot of these insurance contracts, it's like a crutch, or it can be a crutch for a lot of the practice owners out there. And if you only have these contracts and you have no self-pay options, you don't have to do any, like you said, no snake oil sales, nothing like that. Just offer like, oh, we also have this or this. Like over the years, I've said to patients and families, like, they needed like a home health aide. They needed this, that. And I was like, well, I have people on my team that are not licensed. They're not licensed. They're care companions. I don't know if I even told you guys that we've done this before, but care companions that I met at other homes over the last 5, 6, 7 years. I knew them really well, connected with them on social media, know their family, all that. New patient calls in, family members being discharged from the hospital. And then they're like, oh yeah, great. We got home physical therapy scheduled for tomorrow with you guys. Wonderful. Now I also need to figure out at the same time, like an overnight aide, a home attendant. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we have that. And oftentimes I can get some colleague of mine, trusted, vetted, respected, professional, at that residence that night or the next day faster than most other places. And it was just like, I have this is my network, like these folks in my network, but they're already asking for it. And I'm just like, hey, we have it. And also like time and speed is like, that's our thing. We can get it going right away. And it's a solution for them. Keep the family member safe in the middle of the night in case they get up and try to use the restroom or something. And I'll share your numbers another time. Extremely profitable.
Yeah, because you're solving a gigantic need. One thing I will do before parting shots is Tony said this before, which is, what if insurance pays appropriately? Because what you have to understand is how many therapists are on a bell curve. So you think insurance should pay you because you're in the top 15%. You're the best.
And everyone thinks that. All the practices think that, yeah.
I mean, but not me. Not them. I'm the best, though, right? So insurance has to pay that, has to understand that they're paying for the other end of the bell curve. They're paying for the people who sort of suck at this, right? So I know you want to always lift the ceiling in evidence-based practice, but we got to focus on the floor too of our profession. And the only thing you can really control in our profession is you.
Value-based care arrangements, VBC, value-based care. Is that what that is?
Yeah, Dana said there's many ways to contract with the payer, figure out their incentives, and bring higher quality data to the conversation. Payers and providers are actually on the same side. I agree, and so we've got the resources. I sometimes think when you give too many choices, it becomes overwhelming and like the brain shuts down. You and I and all of us, like, we have so many ideas and so many different ways to make this work. Value-based care. Go check out PT Pintcast.
Premiere Monday
if you haven't.
Your episode is on Monday.
I think the opportunity, this is my parting shot. The opportunities can absolutely be overwhelming. There are just so many directions and so many things we can do that we become, paralyzed and we don't know what to do. Just pick something, move forward. It'll adapt. My business never looks the same from the first day to the 100th day. We're always going to grow and change. You just got to take that step and move forward.
Dave, what do you got? Parting shot.
I got two random things because we kind of covered a wide range of topics today. One, no AI video will ever replace people like us doing live video ever. There's still going to be actors for movies. There's still going to be news anchors at news stations. And I think, let's say in the next 10 years still. That's one thing. Two, yeah, I think a lot of these insurance contracts are crutches. It's a way for owners to not completely be business owners, and they kind of are practice owners. And respectfully, even though we do take some out of network insurance and we have a medical biller and all that type of stuff, you have to be really good to charge a lot of money out of pocket like we do. And I'm not saying we're the best or anything, but we make a pretty good impact. And unfortunately, it's not for everyone, but when someone is paying out of pocket for the gallon of milk or for the physical therapy or whatever, they're choosing who they want to work with. And I think sometimes these insurance contracts distort that relationship between client, customer, and professional provider like us.
I would say understand what business you're in. And if you are a physical therapist providing physical therapy, and that is the only tool you have, I hate to use it, but I got to, in your toolbox, then you will get paid whatever the organization you have contracted with to provide that tool, and not $1 more. And that's it. So understand what business you're in. So a what question, what business am I in? Am I in physical therapy? Then how you will solve that, how question, is physical therapy. And you will get paid for that by whoever you have a contract with, whatever they decide. They're bigger than you. They're probably always going to be bigger than you. If you can provide rehabilitation, if you can provide empowerment, if you can provide other things, that's your what. How you can do that is a multitude of ways. And the people that are doing this are not in the Facebook groups bitching. They're out there just doing this. They're understanding this. And the last thing I'll say is, are you making decisions for your patients? Decisions for them. I'm not saying this. What I'm saying is, or is your job to give suggestions, right? I'm here for milk. Then someone should just run out to your car and give you milk and never allow you in the store. Are you doing that? Are you just saying, here's the milk, get out of here? Or are you saying, yeah, man, you're here for milk. Milk's in the back. Take your time. Are you doing that? That is a business model that you can be in as a physical therapist. I was going to talk about AOMT. I'm going to the AOMT conference. So this is a good place to create content. I'm going down there to record a lot. I have a plan, but I think it'll go sideways and that'll be fun. But we're going to Orlando. So going down there to do some episodes with AOMT. They have a podcast. I helped them launch it. That's a little plug there. But if you're a manual therapist, they're talking about manual physical therapy things. Orlando. So not a bad place to be. It's getting a little cool here in the Northeast. But we'll be back on Tuesday with the live stream. Dana Strauss, as we've mentioned a couple different times. Dana, your episode is out on video and the podcast on Monday. Gentlemen, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Well, delayed reaction.